Thank you very much. I think this is a fantastic opportunity to speak, and for me, having heard from all these people, I feel like there's a lot to talk about with the integrated national financing framework. Uh, and as asked to speak about Tanzania experience and particularly the questions you asked, I started looking at the topic itself. Topic itself tells a lot, saying making finance work for the people and planet. And most of the time, we've been looking for it to work for the people because it's never worked like that before. So we need to see that it works for everyone. Then on top of it, we also need to be careful and making sure that the financing is working for the planet. And I think the testimonies that we've had from various people here tells that, yeah, every country is now really cautious about the planet, particularly the climate. So I think the topic is very fit for this. So I'll start with saying that in most of the developing countries, there's been a mislink between the national development plans and the financing and financial resources needed to achieve them. And that is the key issue with this integrated national financing framework. I think for me, if you ask me what has it done to Tanzania, this is exactly that. That for the first time, we managed to link our what we desire in the 5-year development plan and what we can source to achieve our desires. So in the process of developing INFF, the government of Tanzania and the UNDP collaborated to develop and implement the development finance assessment, DFA, first, and later on it became a financing strategy, which we adopted in 2021. And through the development finance assessment, or DFA, we mapped out all the traditional and not so traditional financing pathways, and including innovative ways of funding our development plan. So we look at domestic revenue resources, non-traditional domestic resources, external grants, which were traditionally we used to receive grants and some concessional loans, but we looked at external borrowing, both concessional and non-concessional, a climate change fund, which was quite a new addition, domestic savings. We've been hearing here that some of the time we were just looking outside, but there's a lot that is, if you align well, you can find that the money is even available domestically. So domestic savings, bank financing, private and public partnership, venture capital, corporate bonds, private equity, and all those sorts. So we mapped out with the support of UNDP. We mapped out when we were creating now the development finance assessment and finally the strategy. So I would say that the key milestones of the INFF process in Tanzania include the realization of the alignment between the planning and financing concepts. And we've had a few testimonies here that's purely the key or the core concept of INFF. So our last 5-year development plan came up with a financing strategy all together, marked together. You mentioned about 45, it was actually $49 billion. 65% of it is marked to come from the private sector. So since 2021, when we adopted INFF, there have been significant reforms in the financing of the government development plans. So this is including our need to go for the credit rating And indeed, that one we achieved that, and now the country is rated for the first time, and very recently we all know that Moody's have recently upgraded the rating from B2 to B1 with a stable outlook. So it's one of the key milestones out of the NFF that we've been working together with the UNDP and other partners. And in 2002, we managed to establish crowdfunding guidelines for capital markets and securities. Also, we established corporate bond issuance guidelines and formulated alternative project financing strategies. So all these were achieved under the INFF. And I would probably like to mention a few key success that out of this, and for the first time, the government and public investment has managed to access key private capital. And this including last year, one of our bank, CRDB, goes by the name of CRDB Bank, with the support of IFC, managed to issue a green bond. And it was one of the kind in Africa there. And this is a very key, this definitely results of the outcome of NFF. Other than that, we also, with the support of IFC, IFC managed to do some kind of credit enhancement, and another bank called the National Microfinance Bank managed to issue a gender-based bond. This is to target funding for the women empowerment, because there was no anything like that in the market, and that was issued, and it was very successful. That was a $100 million ticket. So this is one of the key achievements. But very recently this year, one of the local town council, which is a water utility, managed to do a social bond, and it worked very well. And this is a quasi supported, but they managed to do that and raise about $50 million to do the investment on water and waste management. So that's also out of the NFF. Apart from that, because also we have other partners that we've been doing along the way, because we have now a set of framework that we worked on. We have been doing rural electrification projects with the support of World Bank. This is some of these off-grid solar power projects. And in that sphere, we've been encouraging private sector to jump in and invest in that. And because of some risks, we have managed to work out with the World Bank through IDA financing to do kind of a blended financing and open up for private sector, and it's working very well. So we've got quite a number of private sector getting into that business through the borrowing from commercial bank, which is the rate is down because it's blended with the IDA financing. But again, with the help of, with the cooperation with the federal government of Germany, we have an agreement in place where it's a performance-based grant. If one of the we work out some of the public SOEs. So we target mainly the water utilities and water utility companies. They can access, if they can manage to prove they can access funds from the commercial banks, they're getting grants. It's a performance-based grant. So that grant end up blending the rates that they can access from the commercial bank into a very affordable way, and it's been working very well. A number of water utilities have been benefiting of that. But apart from that, on this blending finances, which is quite new in the government, we've been very closely working with the UNDP country office to map up all the possible areas or opportunities that can be used, along with mapping the SDG investors to see how we could capitalize on that. Those are kind of few things that are already on the ground are working, and we're very happy with this because if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't be talking about this now. But looking ahead, some of the things that are on the board now, some of them have been mentioned here. We are establishing a climate finance unit, and this is working for the planet. So, and this is under me. I'm quite busy making sure I establish the climate finance unit. I'll go to Agassi. We'll definitely go to him to help. Yeah, so we're establishing climate finance unit to make sure that we're coordinating all the different opportunities and different things that we could do under the climate finance, so that the finance can work for the planet. Also, on the carbon footprint, we're working on to establish a way of measuring and finally trading with a carbon credit, and that's again is one of the main things that we are hoping will happen. Others including a green taxonomy and tax for SDG 13, which is the climate change. Already we're trying to identify some areas where we could raise money to support the climate change mitigations. So it is quite a hefty, but we are progressing well there. On your other parts, I know you're I'm over time. This is the last point. On the other point that you asked for the for subnational, we have Zanzibar, which is kind of semi-autonomous, and there we are doing sustainable quasi sovereign bond framework. It's just a framework. We're also doing SDG investors map and Zanzibar local digital revenue collection system. So we're very confident that things are working, and sorry that I've spent more than 7 minutes. I thought I would spend less.